By 2022, one of the big favorites to win the World Cup was, as almost always, Brazil. And it looked like, with Neymar leading the way and already dreaming of putting that 6th star on the shirt, they'd finally get the title. What happened next, though, was pure heartbreak at the hands of Croatia, despite Neymar scoring a wonder goal. After that, the following years were filled with silence about him, except when people brought up his love for partying. So what happened to the man many called Brazil's last true legend? Is he really closer to retirement than to redeeming himself with the national team? Or maybe, just maybe, does he have one last dance left in him for the 2026 World Cup? Back in 2015 and 2017, Neymar finished third in the Ballon d'Or voting, becoming just another victim of the Messi Ronaldo era. Even though he was Brazil's best player, he was stuck in their shadow, and being at Barcelona with Messi didn't help, since the perception was always that he wasn't the main man. That's when he chose to leave for PSG, a club that promised to build a project entirely around him and take him to the very top of the world football, while also handing him a 222 million contract. But as fate would have it, what was great for Neymar's bank account turned out to be disastrous for his footballing legacy, and that's really where the answer begins to the question: what happened to Neymar? Across Neymar's 6th season in PSG, what stood out the most in the Champions League weren't really his performances, but his absences. In the 2017-2018 campaign, he missed the second leg of the round of 16 against Real Madrid, which PSG went on to lose 5-2 on aggregate. In 2018-19, he was again out for the return leg against Manchester United, and we all know how that ended, with PSG collapsing at home and United pulling off the comeback. And true to form, in the 2022-23 round of 16 clash against Bayern Munich, Neymar was once again injured and PSG were knocked out. The bright spot came in 2019-2020 when PSG reached their first ever Champions League final. The bad news were that was against Bayern, the same Bayern that had already traumatized Barcelona's fans just rounds earlier, and at the end they lost. On paper, Neymar's numbers in Paris looked great: 118 goals and 79 assists in 173 matches. Better output than he had at Barcelona. The problem is that those stats don't capture the 119 games he missed through injury, and almost like a clockwork, many of those absences coincided with his sister's birthday and Rio's carnival. Neymar wasn't just skilled with the ball, he had an impeccable timing with his injuries too. By 2022, it felt like everything was falling apart, the injuries wouldn't let him shine, he was no longer the face of PSG's superstar project, and the international trophies kept slipping away. Still, there was one last hope: the 6th star. Heading into the 2022 World Cup, it seemed Neymar finally had the perfect chance to deliver Brazil that long-awaited 6th title. True, he had lost the Copa America final to Argentina the year before, but anyone who watched that match knows Neymar was Brazil's best player. And if they deserved the win, it would have been because of him. But Angel Di Maria and Argentina's defense had other plans. In qualifying, Brazil looked unstoppable, sitting top of the table and dazzling under Tite with flashes of Jogo Bonito. And in Qatar, they started brightly, but then Croatia snapped them back to reality. Neymar had produced a moment of magic with his goal, but once again, his teammates couldn't hold the lead or deliver from the penalty spot. And just like that, Neymar's World Cup dream was gone. The last World Cup match didn't just mark the start of Neymar's sharp decline. It also showed just how alone he often looked in Brazil's setup. After the golden generation that reached 3 straight World Cup finals, Neymar was the one expected to carry the national team on his shoulders. Sure, he delivered a Confederations Cup, an Olympic gold medal, but on the biggest stage of all, the World Cup, he never even reached a final. In 2014, he couldn't play the semi-final because, yes, you guessed it, he was injured. To be fair, that one wasn't on him. We'll never know how things might have gone with Neymar on the pitch that fateful day. But honestly, I doubt Germany would have scored 7, maybe 6. In 2018 and 2022, he failed again to take Brazil all the way, and his career only seemed to spiral further down. By 2023, things weren't any better at club level. Neymar left Europe's elite and signed for Al Hilal, who paid around 98 million for him and handed him a staggering annual salary of about 107 million. One of the biggest rip-offs football has seen, and not necessarily because Neymar wasn't worth it anymore, but because that same year he got injured on Brazil duty, after playing only 5 games for his new club. He then spent most of 2024 recovering, making just 2 appearances late in the year. When everything goes wrong, the only option is often to go back to where it all began, and that's exactly what Neymar did. In 2025, he returned to Brazil, rejoining Santos, the club where he became a multi-champion and an idol. His homecoming was seen as a lifeline for a club that had just been relegated, with fans dreaming that their hero would restore past glory. What they didn't expect was more frustration. Neymar's second spell at Santos has been difficult. Recurring injuries, flashes of brilliance, but no major titles. Recently, the team was trashed 6-0, leaving Neymar in tears and the team hovering just above the relegation zone. Oh, and he also picked up another injury that could keep him out until November, December. The easiest answers for Neymar's decline would be his bad luck with injuries, which have wrecked his whole career by keeping him out of crucial matches that could have changed everything. But I think the problem goes a bit deeper. Many point to the constant influence of his father, also his agent, in decisions like the club transfers. And while Neymar's tendency to get injured might have a genetic factor, his reputation as a party boy and maybe not taking proper care of himself could have made each recovery worse. We can't know that for sure, but one thing we can be certain of is that every year during Rio's Carnival, you are more likely to find Neymar celebrating than playing. All of this explains his decline, but the real question is, how can he reinvent himself on the pitch? If you watch the Brasileiro, Neymar still tries to be that kid who used to dribble past everyone with sheer pace, but his body just doesn't respond anymore. What he could do, though it might sound strange at just 33, is reshape his role, similar to what Messi has done in recent years. That means becoming more of a playmaker, positioning himself so he doesn't have to sprint or beat half of the team to get a shot on goal, because even if his body is worn down, his technique and creativity can still shine for a long time. Looking ahead to the World Cup, honestly, I don't see him regaining full fitness and playing at his peak if Ancelotti even calls him up. Still, I think he'd be valuable for Brazil as a leader in the squad. In recent years, coincidentally, since Neymar injuries, Brazil has lacked someone with true authority in tough, decisive matches, as was clear against Argentina. So in my opinion, if Neymar takes care of himself for the next 6 months, he could still make the World Cup. Even if he only comes off the bench or plays limited minutes, he could change Brazil's face. Maybe pull off a Ronaldo 2002 scenario and finally get to put on those shorts again.